Hi, I'm Kelly at Book and Paper Arts, and today I have several ways to jumpstart your layouts with instant full-page coverage. If you work in altered books or art journals or other paper-based mixed media, you know that it is by its very nature slow process. But what I have today is guaranteed for instant gratification, and if you have a fear of the blank page, and who of us does not, it'll jumpstart that too. I'm going to show these samples in a couple of books that I actually spent weeks preparing, gluing, cutting, until they just decided to let me know that they were not the ones. But I do use them to play in and show sample techniques in, which helps me feel less absolutely awful. Full page coverage. Clearly, you can paint your pages. Some people get beautiful results with acrylic paints. I don't. Maybe I'm doing something wrong, but over and over I have found that even after they've dried, the pages will be a little bit sticky, and had to ditch a couple of projects there. So try that, but be aware. You could use gouache, I think, which is water-based, and that would be good. I really like, however, to use gesso. So gesso is chalk-based. And you can see that you can go light or go thick. You could put in a couple of coats. And it's also good because you can draw or write on it. So that's nice. And you can't really do that with acrylic. I don't know if you know that you can add color to gouache. Now, I have actually added a small amount of acrylic here. You can also use ink or other pigment. And then when you mix it together, it's almost like a faux chalk paint. And when it dries, and you can just get beautiful, colors. And if you don't want the full page, you can just make it a little bit patchy there. You know what? You could even do that, and it's going to be even messier. Okay, but you still have a lot of interest and coverage. Okay, so start off by painting with some gesso. My next technique for full page coverage is not quite instant, but it's not too bad, and I use it all the time. In fact, it's the base layer of all of my art journal pages. It is a collage of print paper scraps. And I keep a huge shoebox full of these scraps, because if I'm making a different art journal page or whatnot, I always have bits of things left over, and I don't throw anything away. So I put them in there and then tear them into the size that I like, and then just start gluing at will. I don't think about this, don't overthink it at all. And if that looks a little bit busy, let me show you how it turns out once you have it, once you work with it. Underneath everything here, you can see very subtly the page, the print, the text is still showing through. Adding texture and layer and interest to the eye. So don't be afraid to start working into that. Next, let's look at covering the page by just covering the page. This is a piece of sheet music that I have trimmed to size, and I'm going to add my adhesive to the pages and then put it down. If this looks too busy, look at it now once it's got some elements added to it. And you can see that it's very charming, so don't be afraid of it. It's also really good if you have started a page that you're not happy with. And a lot of times you can just work and work and work in a page and save it. And then sometimes you can just start over. So that's going to cover that up. One more thing I'd like to point out, though, is that sometimes when you glue a full piece of paper over a binding, sometimes it will work great and other times not so much. So if you're not sure, and this is just trial and error, you can go ahead and tear your page and then just glue them side by side, leaving the binding to do what it will without buckling or getting bulky. This is also good if you want to use other papers, if you have art papers, or even maps look really good. So cover your page. Speaking of maps, I have some on tissue paper. Tissue paper is one of my favorite go-to techniques for quick full-page coverage of a layout because it's inexpensive, easy to find, and I love the way it goes down. Once it's glued on, you can still see whatever is underneath, usually text. So again, a lot of layer right from the get-go. And again, we can see how that might look. That's going to be really good. I like that. I also have some tissue paper, let's see, with wildflowers. I got at the office supply store. And then there's some faux marbled paper that I've already glued down. You can still see the print underneath. And how that's going to give you a dramatic, pretty, fun, easy way to hit the ground running with this layout. Similar to tissue paper are paper napkins. Like them for the same reason. You can get them anywhere. They are inexpensive and give fantastic effects. I got these at a museum gift shop in Paris. So cheap souvenir. But you know what? I got these at a drugstore in Van Cleve, Mississippi for 35 cents. So you can find them anywhere. Really, really charming. Let's see. If you want to use a paper napkin, they often have lots of layers. So very, very carefully peel them apart until finally you just have this one very sheer layer left. Now I want to show you something. It's really important that you do not try to add glue to the paper. It's just too fragile. Believe me, I know. I found out the hard way. So add your adhesive to your substrate. And then carefully place the napkin on top of that. You can work it into place lightly. It might wrinkle. Don't worry about it. All you want to do is remember to say, I meant to do that. It's just a little more texture, a little more distress. And you can still see the text underneath. And so again, we have a beautiful page to start with. Lastly, I have seldom seen any page that did not benefit from a good tea bag. I drink loose tea, so I have these do-it-yourself tea bag envelope sachet thingies that I then open up. But any tea bag will do. And unlike napkins, they are surprisingly robust. You can add your glue straight onto the tea bag, peel it off and then work it onto your page with your fingers. And then it will look like almost like a parchment or an old linen, because you can see underneath. Again, you already have a lot of texture to get you started for something fun. You can also add it over other elements. Here's the sheet music we looked at earlier, and I added a little bit of tea bag to that, and now we have layer to start playing with. I want to show you a couple of examples in my finished altered books so you can see where you can go with this. This is a tea bag. That worked well. See, here is a map that I used for most of a full page coverage. And again, even though it's busy, it took the elements really well. In this one, let's see, this is covered with gesso. Remember, that was our first technique. And then after it was dried, I added some distress paints to the gesso. And I think I'd better do a video in the future about distress paints and gesso. What do you think? Here is a page where I covered it with the sheet music, a little bit of tea bag, and then other elements. And here, finally, are the napkins that I bought in Vancleave, Mississippi. And you can see that I've glued it down and that you can see the text under the page. I inked up the edges for a little drama, but basically, it's all peacocks, all napkins. I do have a newsletter that goes out every other Sunday. And if you would like to see more about book arts and paper arts, journal stuff, some free giveaways, and free downloads, and the occasional pep talk, please subscribe. The link is in the text below this video. I would be grateful if you subscribe to my channel. And if you have any questions or feedback, just let me know in the comments, and I would love to get back to you. I would love to hear your ideas. Until next Friday, get up and go make something.